Hi class, welcome to our next lesson on adding and subtracting mixed numbers. I'd like you to go ahead and have your notes in front of you because what we're going to be working on today is adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So if you do not have your notes and a piece of paper, go and get those right now and pause this video cast and I'll wait right here for you. Okay, let's take a look at those notes. We are trying to add and subtract fractions, mixed numbers with unlike denominators. And so let's take a look at the first example problem, 3 and 4/9 plus 2 and 1/6. What we want to do is always with fractions to write that problem vertically first. So you can see that done in the first box. Our second step is to find the lowest common denominator. And for this one, since 9 is our largest denominator, we will use the multiples of 9. 9, 6 doesn't go into, but 18 it does. And so we will make each of those fractions, 4/9 and 1/6, into something that's equivalent to 18ths. So we would see that 4/9 would end up being 8/18 and 1/6 would end up being 3/18. Now that we have the least common denominator, you can see in step 3 we have renamed those fractions so that they have those common denominators, and now we are able to just add them. 8 plus 3 is 11, so now I have 11/18. I'll go over to my whole numbers now, and in step 4 it tells us to add or subtract the whole numbers and simplify if needed. When I add 3 plus 2, I get 5, and nothing needs to be simplified, so I am finished there. If you take a look at your side, we have a subtraction problem. Can you go ahead and write that vertically? And as you are writing that, can you be thinking about what the least common denominator would be? Again, make sure you put a really long equal bar in. And my largest denominator is 10. 5 would go into that, so let's use 10 as our least common denominator. That would make that 6/10, and 1/5 would be 2/10. So now that I am subtracting, I would take 6 minus 2. I would get 4/10. And I'm going to go over to my whole numbers, and 8 minus 2 is 6. I take a look at that fraction, and I say 4/10 is not in simplest form, so I'm going to simplify that to 6 2/5. Okay, let's take a look at the back of your notes at the example problems. And when we go to our first example, I'm going to ask you to write that vertically, get a common denominator, and then add it. Pause the video cast while you do that, and I'll be waiting right here for you. Okay, let's take a look at our problem. I have 6 1/5 plus 3 1/4. I know that 5 is my largest denominator here. 4 can't go into it. The next multiple is 10. That doesn't work. 15 doesn't work, but 20 does. So 1/5 would be 4/20, and 1/4 would be 5/20. When I add that, I get 9/20, and now I'll add my whole numbers, and I get 9 and 9/20, and that does not need to be simplified. Let's go to the second problem. We have 3 numbers, and that's okay to add those. Make sure that you're finding a common denominator. Pause the video cast while you work on that, and I'll be waiting right here for you. Okay, welcome back. When I take a look at my 3 fractions here, I know I have put in a large equal bar and my addition sign, and now I'm looking for the least common denominator. 6 is my largest denominator. 6 doesn't work as a common denominator for 4, but the next multiple of 6, 12, does. So I'm going to make those have a common denominator of 12. That would be 3/12, 2/12, and 4/12. And now I can add 3 plus 2, which is 5, and 4 more, which is 9/12. When I add my whole numbers, I get 1 plus 2, which is 3, and 3 is 6. And I look at it and I say it needs to be simplified. That 9/12 can be simplified to 3/4. So my final answer there would be 6 3/4. Take a look at the third problem. Now we're doing a subtraction problem. Go ahead and work that out on your notes. Pause the video cast while you work, and I'll be waiting right here for you. Okay, welcome back. Did you find 40 as the least common denominator? That works. So that would be 17/40. And, whoops, that's not 20. That would be 40. There we go. And this would be 6/40. 17 minus 6 is 11. And I go to my whole numbers, and 8 taken away from 10 is 2. So I have 2 and 11/40. Okay, let's look at the next example on your notes. I have 14 and 15/20 minus 5.3. Gee, I think I need to make those into the same form. How would you do the problem? Go ahead and pause the video cast. I'll wait right here for you, then come back and take a look at the answer. Okay, welcome back. I'm going to write both of those as fractions, and so 5 and 3/10 would be written like this. Using my long equal bar, I will see that my common denominator would be 20, and so 3/10 would be 6/20, and when I subtract, I would get 9/20, and 14 minus 5 is also 9, so my final answer would be 9 and 9/20. Looking down at the very bottom of your notes, a rectangle is 3.5 inches long. Its width is 1 1/8 inch less than its length. Find the perimeter of the rectangle. Sometimes it helps to draw this, so why don't you start with that tip by drawing the rectangle and putting in its dimensions, and I'll wait here while you figure it out. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look at how you would solve this. I know that the length of that rectangle is 3.5 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on both sides. Since the width is 1 1/8 inches less, I'm going to have to do a subtraction problem. Let me get a common denominator here of 4/8 and 1/8, and when I subtract that, I get 2 and 3/8. So I would have 2 and 3/8 on each side. Now, in order to find the perimeter, did you remember the formula for perimeter? Perimeter equals length plus width plus length plus width. And so we would add all four of those fractions, and I would take 3.5, 3.5, 2 and 3/8, and 2 and 3/8, and I'm going to add those. My common denominator would be 8, so the halves would be 4/8, and these would be 3/8. And when I add up 4 plus 4, I get 8, and 3 and 3 is 6, and 8 and 6 is 14/8. Let me add up my whole numbers. 3 and 3 is 6, 2 and 2 is 4, and 6 and 4 is 10. So I have 10 and 14/8. That is not in lowest terms, however. I hope you like my different colors there. So that improper fraction 14/8 has to be changed into a fraction of 1 and 6/8, which I'm going to add to the 10. So that's going to give me 11 and 6/8, but I can divide both of those by 2, so I'm going to get 11 and 3/4 as my final answer, and that would be in inches. So my perimeter is 11 and 3/4 inches. Hope you did okay on that one. All right, now when we add fractions and we get a whole number with an improper fraction, that's what we were just looking at. We want to change the improper fraction to a mixed number and add that mixed number to the whole number. So look at the example here. When I add 6 and 10, I get 16/15. And when I add 8 and 5, I get 13. So this improper fraction has to be changed to a mixed number. That would be, as a mixed number, 1 and 1/15. So I'm going to add that to the 13 to get a total of 14 and 1/15 as my final answer. See how that worked? Okay, let's see if you can try one like that. Pause the video cast while you work on this problem, and then I'll show you how we got it. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look at finding our common denominator first, and that would be 12. So this would be 3/12, and this would be 10/12. That's going to give me 13/12 altogether. And when I add 6 and 7, I get 13. Now 13/12 is really equal to 1 and 1/12. So I'm going to add that to the 13, and I'll get 14 and 1/12 as my answer. 14 and 1/12. Hope you got that one. Okay, let's try something else. Now, when you add fractions, you get a whole number with an improper fraction. Remember, change your improper fraction to a mixed number and add that mixed number to your whole number. Try this one. Pause the video cast. I'll wait right here for you. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look at finding a common denominator here. Gee, 9. 4 doesn't go into that. The next multiple is 18. That doesn't work. 27 doesn't work. 36. There we go. So I'm going to use 36 as my common denominator. That's going to give me 20/36. and going to give me 27 36. And when I add those, I get 47 36. And 9 plus 2 is 11. Now this 47 36 actually equals 1 and 11 36. And I'm going to have to add that to my 11. So I would get 12 and 11 36. Okay, let's go on and take a look at one more thing. Sometimes you need to subtract mixed numbers and they need to be regrouped. Let's see how we want to do this. The first thing we want to do is to get the least common denominator, which you can see we've done in our sample. Now, I cannot take 1 minus 2, so I'm going to have to borrow from this 3 and make it a 2. And I'm going to put the 1 right over here to make that a mixed number. I'm going to change that mixed number into an improper fraction now. Remember how we do that? 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. So that's 5/4. Now I can subtract 5/4 minus 2/4. I get 3/4, and 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, I'd like you to try that. And my sample that I just did previously is up here, so you can look at it if you need some extra help. Go ahead and try this one, pause the video cast, and I'll be right back to help you out with it. Okay, do you see how we got 15 as our common denominator here? I'm going to borrow from the 8 and make it a 7. I'm going to bring the 1 over. Now let's make this mixed number into an improper fraction. So that would be 15 plus 6, which would be 21/15. Now I'll subtract 21 minus 10, and I get 11/15. And 7 minus 5 is 2. And so my final answer would be 2 and 11/15. Hope that worked for you. Go ahead and try this one. It's the same type of problem. This time you have to figure out the common denominator. Okay, let's take a look at this one. We're going to use 36 as our common denominator, so that would be 16 36. And this would be 27 36. And I can't subtract 16 minus 27, so I'm going to borrow from the 18, make it a 17, and I'm going to put the 1 over here. Now I'm going to have to make that into an improper fraction. So 36 times 1 is 36, plus 16 is going to be 52 36. And now I can subtract 52 minus 27, and that's going to give me 25 36. And 17 minus 6 is going to give me 11. So I have 11 and 25 36. Hope you did okay with that one. Okay, that was our adding and subtracting mixed numbers. And now you should be able to add and subtract them. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.